Hello, friends. Welcome to my channel. Today we are going to learn the story A House is Not a Home. A house is not a home. This story reflects the challenges of being a teenager and the problems of growing up. How does the author overcome his problems? My first year of high school felt awkward. After leaving junior high at the head of my class, with all the seniority the upper grade levels could afford me, it felt strange starting over as a freshman. The school was twice as big as my old school, and to make matters worse, my closest friends were sent to a different high school. I felt very isolated. So, the author was initially in a junior school, but after junior school, you need to go and attend a high school. That this is a normal procedure. But this shift from junior school to high school can be a little troublesome for some people. The main reason is after studying in the junior school for many years, people get into a comfort zone. The comfort zone is in regards to the friend circle that one has, the teachers, everything. A child gets very used to this, and from here when he or she needs to shift to a different place, to a different school, it can be awkward means uncomfortable. So after leaving junior school, this person, the author, the narrator, Zan, was also very uncomfortable. He just felt that he started as a freshman. Even though the school was very big, it was twice as big as my old school. And to make matters worse, his closest friends, none of them were there with him. And definitely he felt very isolated, means cornered. He was like feeling very lonely and cornered in that place because he had no friends with him. I missed my old teachers so much that I would go back and visit them. They would encourage me to get involved in school activities so that I could meet new people. They told me that in time I would adjust and probably end up loving my new school more than I had my old one. They made me promise that when that happened, I would still come by and visit them from time to time. I understood the psychology in what they were saying, but I took some comfort in it nonetheless. So he missed his old teachers also. So, in order to feel better, he often visited his old school. He met with his old teachers. And what did the teachers tell to encourage him? They said that you will recover from this. And one of the good ways to get yourself involved is you can participate in the school activities because that will give you a chance to meet new people. And in the course of that, you will make some new friends. And obviously, once you start mixing with people, you will adjust and you will, get into the swing of it. And they also made him promise that if he makes new friends in the new school, he should come and narrate the incident or the experience to his old teachers. So they tried to make him comfortable in every way possible. After this, one Sunday afternoon, not long after I had started high school, I was sitting at home at our dining room table doing homework. It was a cold and windy fall day, and we had a fire going in our fireplace. As usual, my red tabby cat was lying on top of all my papers, purring loudly and occasionally swatting at my pen for entertainment's sake. She was never far from me. I had rescued her when she was a kitten, and somehow she knew that I was the one responsible for giving her the good life. My mother kept stoking the fire to keep the house nice and warm. Suddenly, I smelled something strange, and then I noticed it smoke pouring in through the seams of the ceiling. The smoke began to fill the room so quickly that we could barely see. Groping our way to the front door, we all ran out into the front yard. By the time we made our way outside, the whole roof was engulfed in flames and it was spreading quickly. I ran to the neighbors to call the fire department while I watched my mother run back into the house. So this was a very tragic incident in his life. One Sunday afternoon, as he was sitting and doing his homework, and even the cat was next to him, his pet cat, who is also which is also a significant character in the story. So this pet cat was just purring next to him and trying to play with him, and the child was doing his homework. Now there was a fire at the fireplace because it was the season of autumn. So just to keep the house warm, the fire was on. Suddenly there was a smell, and when he looked up, he saw that there was smoke all over the ceiling, and within seconds, the entire house was like, entire place was engulfed in smoke and flames. He just ran out, groping our way. Groping means when you're trying to find the way out, obviously your vision gets blurred because the entire house or the room is choked with smoke. So he just groped his way to the front door, ran out into the front yard, and by the time they made their way outside, the entire house, the roof was engulfed in flames, covered, captured in flames, and it was spreading quickly. So the fire department was called, the neighbors helped, and he also saw his mother run back into the house. My mother then ran out of the house carrying a small metal box full of important documents. She dropped the case on the lawn and, in a crazed state, ran back into the house. I knew what she was after. My father had died when I was young, and I was certain that she was not going to let his pictures and letters go up in flames. They were the only things that she had to remember him by. Still, I screamed at her, "Mom, no." So, see, this is a very sensitive moment for the child and the mother, because when we see that in front of her eyes, the house is, turning into ashes and getting engulfed in flames, we don't know that what we should save. Should we save the money, or should we save the documents? Should we save the things that are very close to our heart? The house has so many things. Small things make up the house, and it has your memories. So the mother was, in an absolutely frenzied state where she was trying to save everything that was very close to her, some important documents. And of course, the father had already died. So she was even very close to the photos and other memories associated with her husband. So she was going back into the house and trying to get those things. I was about to run after her when I felt a large hand hold me back. It was a fireman. I hadn't even noticed that the street had already filled with fire trucks. I was trying to free myself from his grasp, yelling, "You don't understand, my mother's in there." He held on to me while other firefighters ran into the house. He knew that I wasn't acting very logically, and that if he were to let go, I would run. He was right. "It's all right, they'll get her," he said. He wrapped a blanket around me and sat me down in our car. Soon after that, a fireman emerged from our house with my mom in tow. So they carried the mother. He quickly took her over to the truck and put an oxygen mask on her. Obviously, she was choked. When you get into a room and it's filled with smoke, we suffer from we can't breathe, so we get choked. So an oxygen mask was given to her. I ran over and hugged her. All those times I ever argued with her and hated her vanished at the thought of losing her. So the child was very disappointed and upset because the mother was, not feeling well, and she had to be given an oxygen mask. And the child was feeling so insecure, and he thought that all those, memories came back to his mind. The times when a child argues with the parent, shouts at them. So all these things comes back to the child, and he really regretted doing all that. "She's going to be okay," said the fireman. "She just inhaled a little smoke." And then he ran back to fight the fire while my mother and I sat there dazed. I remember watching my house burn down and thinking that there was nothing I could do about it. 5 hours later, the fire was finally out. Finally out means extinguished. Our house was almost completely burned down. But then it struck me. I hadn't seen my cat. Where was my cat? Much to my horror, I realized that she was nowhere to be found. Then all at once it hit me. The new school, the fire, my cat. I broke down in tears and cried and cried. I was suffering loss big time. So all these things, they were not working in his favor. First of all, he was not happy, as I already said in the beginning. He was feeling very uncomfortable and awkward in the new school because he didn't have any friends. This can be very, disturbing for a child. When a child shifts from one place to another, I know it's a part of the process. Like in your life, obviously you cannot be in one place forever. But when somebody has to shift, whether a shift in the residence or whether a shift in the school, it really impacts the child to a great extent. So this was what was happening at the beginning because he didn't have friends. And now there was the fire, and the fire completely burned down their house. And to make matters worse, he even lost his cat. Like he was very attached to the cat. Days means like you are not in your complete senses. You are your consciousness is not alert completely. Like when you really don't know what's happening in front of you. So that's days. Dangerous at that point of time. So they just carried some clothes and they went to the grandparents' house at night. The next day, Monday, I went to school. When the fire broke out, I was still wearing the dress I had worn to church that morning, but I had no shoes. I had kicked them off when I was doing my homework. They became yet another casualty of the fire. So I had to borrow some tennis shoes from my aunt. Why couldn't I just stay home from school? My mother wouldn't hear of it, but I was totally embarrassed by everything. The clothes I was wearing looked weird. I had no books or homework, and my backpack was gone. I had my life in that backpack. The more I tried to fit in, the worse it got. Was I destined to be an outcast and a geek all my life? Geek is a person who doesn't fit anywhere, who feels very awkward in that surrounding. That's what it felt like. I didn't want to grow up, change, or have to handle life as if it was going to be this way. I just wanted to curl up and die. So he was so upset. Obviously, going to the school without your bag, not wearing your own shoes, wearing some clothes which makes you look weird. Any child would feel uncomfortable. So actually, he didn't want to go to school, but his mother was not ready to listen. So he just felt that, he should go and hide somewhere and die. He was so depressed. I walked around school like a zombie. Everything felt so real. So real means not real. And I wasn't sure what was going to happen. All the security I had known from my old school, my friends, my house, my cat, had all been ripped away, taken away from me, like torn away. So all these things which he was attached to, it was like, forcefully taken away from him. That's what he felt. So the main thing was he was feeling very insecure because he didn't have anything that he knew. Everything was new to him. When I walked through what used to be my house after school that day, I was shocked to see how much damage there was. Whatever hadn't burned was destroyed by the water and chemicals they had used to put out the fire. The only material things not destroyed were the photo albums, documents, and some other personal items that my mother means feel sorry or mourn. MOURN. There was no time to do that. My mother rushed me out of the house. We would have to find a place to live, and I would have to go buy some clothes for school. We had to borrow money from my grandparents because there were no credit cards, cash, or even any identification to be able to withdraw money from the bank. Everything had gone up in smoke. So this is actually so terrible. Like when we read in the story, we feel, yeah, we really feel bad. But if you have to put ourselves in his shoes, then we probably understand the pain behind it. Losing everything is a very, it's so like so terrible. It can take your life away. That week, the rubble that used to be our house was being cleared of the lot. Rubble means all the destroyed things. Like once the house was destroyed with fire, the leftover thing you can say was it was the rubble. Even though we had rented an apartment nearby, I would go over to watch them clear away the debris. Debris is the waste material where they were trying to clear away everything, hoping that my cat was somewhere to be found. She was gone. I kept thinking about her as that vulnerable little kitten. Vulnerable means weak, means small and weak and frail. It was a tiny, small kitten. So where did my cat go? The author kept on wondering. In the early morning, when I would disturb her and get out of bed, she would tag along after me, climb up my robe, and crawl into my pocket to fall asleep. I was missing her terribly. It always seems that bad news spreads quickly, and in my case, it was no different. Everyone in high school, including the teachers, was aware of my plight. Plight is sorrow over here. Like the teachers were aware about the troubles that difficulties that he was going through. I was embarrassed as if somehow I were responsible. What a way to start off a new school. This was not the kind of attention I was looking for. So obviously, when we come to know, oh my God, this child has lost everything in the fire, people try to come and console you. People try to come and cheer you up. People try to come and ask you, hey, how did it happen? And that made him all the more uncomfortable because he didn't want that. He was like, maybe this child was a little introvert and he didn't want that kind of attention. The next day at school, people were acting even more strange than usual. I was getting ready for gym class at my locker. People were milling around me, asking me to hurry up, moving around him. People were moving around him, asking him to hurry up. Now, he was like getting ready for his gym class. But suddenly, the new friends, they started behaving very differently. They just tried to move around him and they tried to, beckon him towards the gym. People were milling around me, asking me to hurry up. I thought it was strange, but in the light of the past few weeks, nothing would surprise me. It almost seemed that they were trying to shove me into the gym, trying to, make him come towards the gym. Then I saw why. There was a big table set up with all kinds of stuff on it, just for me. They had taken up a collection. Okay. They had taken up a collection and bought me school supplies, notebooks, all kinds of different clothes, jeans, tops, sweatsuits. It was like Christmas. I was overcome by emotion. People who had never spoken to me before were coming up to me to introduce themselves. I got all kinds of invitation to their houses. So this is a very significant turning point of the story. Because here, the author never expected that this is the kind of treatment that he would get in his new school. When everybody came to know of his, tragedy, his friends, they contributed, they chipped in, and they, brought for him school supplies, notebooks, his clothes, everything. And that particular day, when how people were milling around him, moving around him in a confused mass, they were actually trying to give him a surprise. And when then they brought him into the gym, it was all set before him on a big table, and he was overcome with emotion. He was so touched. He couldn't express himself. Not only that, people with whom he didn't even speak even once, even they came and started speaking to him. And they even invited him to their houses that please come over and come to my house, because they all knew that he didn't have a house at that point of time. Their genuine outpouring of concern really touched me, and it was genuine expression of concern. It touched him a lot. In that instant, I finally breathed a sigh of relief. and thought for the first time that things were going to be okay. I met friends that day. So again, a very significant part of the story, where for the first time the author sees a change in his outlook. He realized that the world is not as bad as he was thinking. He was in the process of making new friends, and he was very touched by the kind of love and concern his friends showed for him. A month later, I was at my house watching them rebuild it. So the house was getting rebuilt. But this time it was different. I wasn't alone. I was with two of my new friends from school. It took a fire for me to stop focusing on my feelings of insecurity and open up to all the wonderful people around me. So he started opening up. He was an introvert, as I said in the beginning. He started opening up and he realized that people were actually good. Now I was sitting there watching my house being rebuilt when I realized my life was doing the same thing. This is very important. This means that it was not the house that was only getting rebuilt, even his life was getting transformed. The life that he had, that life was not a life that was giving him any happiness. But the new life that was getting rebuilt after this tragedy was something very new to him. Means, it was like a life which he was looking forward to, which was giving him happiness. While we sat there on the curb planning my new bedroom, I heard someone walk up to me from behind and say, "Does this belong to you?" When I turned around to see who it was, I couldn't believe my eyes. A woman was standing there holding my cat. I leapt up and grabbed her out of the woman's arms. I held her close to me and cried into that beautiful orange fur. She purred happily. My friends were hugging the cat and jumping around. Apparently, my cat had been so freaked by the fire. Freaked of means very upset, extremely upset, that she ran over a mile away. Means the cat got scared with the fire, that she just ran from that place. Her collar had our phone number on it, but our phones had been destroyed, disconnected. This wonderful woman took her in and worked hard to find out whose cat it was. Somehow she knew this cat was loved and sorely missed. As I sat there with my friends and my cat curled up in my lap, all the overwhelming feelings of loss and tragedy seemed to disappear. Diminish means disappear. I felt gratitude for my life, my new friends, the kindness of a stranger, and the loud purr of my beloved cat. My cat was back, and so was I. So finally, the last part of the story, even gets his cat back. And how did he get the cat back? A kind lady brought the cat back because the cat had in the collar, the phone number was written, but the phone numbers were all destroyed. So this woman took the initiative and she really worked hard with all the documents, and she tried to investigate the matter and find out the location of the house and all that. And she came and returned the cat. And the author was so happy to get back his pet cat, and even the friends shared that happiness. So at the end of the story, the author said that I felt gratitude. Gratitude for what? Gratitude for all the good things that happened in his life. For the new friends, for the kind lady who gave back the cat, for getting back the cat, the beloved cat. And my cat was back, and so was I. His cat back. And what he also realizes is that life is not as bad as he had thought. So therefore, we need to be positive. We need to have a positive outlook towards life. And that brings to the end of the story. So I hope all of you have understood. If you have liked the story, please do share your lovely comments. I would be waiting for that. Thank you.